there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Once again, it is Sovereign Saturday. Many sovereign men are leaders of men, Now, let me make a very important clarification, because I found out recently that when I'm talking about sovereign men, it usually pops up in searches for Sigma males. And I've said publicly, I'm not into like that alpha, beta, Sigma and all that. I'm just not into all of that. Other people are okay, that's cool. But here's the thing. I wouldn't say a sovereign man is necessarily what's considered a Sigma. He can be, but he could also be considered an alpha, you know? And like I said, I ain't even into the rest of it, since those are held it to the highest and I hold sovereign men to the highest. Okay, I can have, I can deal with, maybe the association, but let me be clear. A sovereign man, he can be a loner. He can be a loner as long as he controls his own thing, and that's cool. But he can also be a leader of men, In fact, because as a leader, the thing is you're showing a way. It's not like you're a dictator controlling others, but you're showing a way, you're showing an example. A sovereign man can be a teacher of men, teacher of people just in general. Like you have many ministers who are sovereign. They are sovereign. They exercise control, management over their flocks or whatever their groups are. Sometimes, hopefully it's good most of the time, but you got some bad ones, but they still in a position. And they're not dictators, they're just presenting something and people are choosing to follow them. They are still sovereign. But that sovereign man is also that guy who's like, nah, I'm just gonna be to myself, do my own thing. They're both sovereign because they both made a choice. So let me make that clear first of all. Now to the main thing. Many sovereign men are the type who lead others because maybe their calling is to do just that. Like I say, you have many ministers or organizational leaders and everything. Now they might, of course, they're not going to be in that position where they're being dictators. That's not a leader. A true leader is actually a servant. They are helping the people to get to a place. They are showing the way. That's actually service, the greatest type of service. So they're not controlling them, but they can still, hey, look, they just as sovereign, but they're not dependent on the people. It can go either way. But if they realize they're in a position where people are following their lead, people are looking to them for leadership, maybe their calling is to provide that. Like I said, ministers, imams, priests, spiritual leaders, many of them are called, the sincere ones are called to do what they're going to do, to show people a way. And a lot of it is by the example of how they live. The best sermon is an example. And, they could be called to be teachers. Teachers, a sovereign man, he could create a school. You've had sovereign men actually create schools, build schools. I've met a few guys who've built schools, and they are leading. They're showing a way. Many have created businesses where they are employing other people and showing a way. A true entrepreneur who creates a business where he is employing others, he's still sovereign, but he's showing a way. He's providing an example. And many are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, some could just say, no, I'm just going to be to myself. That's it, because overall sovereignty is about living a life on your terms. Your terms could be to lead other people, not dictate over them, not force them, but provide an example, to be of service as a leader. And many are because, and think about what they're showing. Because one of the things we need in society, we need men who are leaders. We need men who are leaders. Now, like I said, I'm not into all that alpha, beta, and sigma, all that stuff. But I am into leadership. And indeed, that man maybe not lead another men, but he can still lead his family. And I have used the term alpha for that because I said every single man with a household is an alpha. You're the head of household. You're the king of that mini nation. If you have a wife and children, oh, you're supposed to be the leader. If you're not, you got a problem. Now, this don't mean you're not sovereign. You still can have that sovereign attitude. Because even many women, they look for that man who's going to lead. And she could be totally down for your program, and that's cool. Just as long as you understand your responsibility to not only her, but your family. And indeed, you might be in a position where you even a greater leader, like a true patriarch. Now, a lot of people don't like that word, but a true patriarch is just the leader of the elder in the family. A true patriarch, he could be that grandfather or great-grandfather, and he still looked to for leadership. He's still sovereign. He's showing his children how to be sovereign, and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And he's still that leader, though. He's still that patriarchal leader. And not the term that people use it for, a dictator. He's still providing a way. I've known grandfathers, men who are grandfathers. They were the truest people, but they would just show the way to behave. But they would also keep order. And they still had control over their personal lives. That's the way to understand it, properly understand sovereignty. Now, that's not saying you have to be that leader. That might not be your calling. That might not be your calling. You're still a sovereign man, even if you're not. Maybe your calling is not to have a family. Maybe your calling is to be that man who has some independence but can help other people, or just be in a position where you just have control. That's ultimately what it is. You living life on your terms. You taking care of stuff. That's ultimately what it is. But many are leaders, many are called to be leaders, and that leadership could be on many different levels. A sovereign man could say, look, I'm gonna create a football club or a sports club, a sports organization for these underprivileged children. He's still sovereign, he still runs that organization, but he's leading others. He's providing a service by being a leader. Understand that. Understand that. So just understand that general thing, all right? So anyway, that's all I have for right now. Keep rising to become the sovereign man that you are meant to be. Peace and blessings.